Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2002 movie titled Collateral Damage. Please be advised that there are spoilers ahead. The film opens with LFD firefighter Captain Gordon "Gordy" Brewer and his fellow firefighters rescuing people who are trapped inside a burning building. Following their rescue of an elderly woman, an explosion engulfs Brewer. Cut to a scene where Brewer teaches his son how to play with a toy plane, and they plan to meet his son Matt and wife Ann in downtown Los Angeles. His wife and son go downtown and wait for Brewer's arrival. Meanwhile, a man, later revealed to be a terrorist, disguised as a police officer, parks his police motorcycle in front of the Colombian consulate, and a convoy of Colombian officials and American intelligence agents arrives at the consulate. Brewer arrives and tells the officer he's picking up his family. As Brewer is about to pick up his family, a bomb explodes in the police motorcycle, killing nearby innocent civilians and officials, including his son and wife. A taxi then hits Brewer, injuring him. Later, Brewer experiences trauma when he learns that the explosion claimed his family's lives. The FBI states that 24 people were injured, 9 people are dead, including those mentioned above, and the explosion is a terrorism act. The hospital transports Brewer and removes some shrapnel from his body. Suddenly, Brewer realizes that the man he met before the explosion, disguised as a police officer, is the one responsible for the attack, and the FBI officers try to stop him. A tape is sent to the U.S. State Department, in which a man pretends to be a police officer calling himself El Lobo the Wolf, claiming responsibility for the bombing, explaining it was in retaliation for America's oppression of Colombia. El Lobo is believed to be a Colombian terrorist named Claudio Perini, a man disguised as a police officer who was there at the time of the explosion, according to the FBI. At his home, Brewer receives a message on his phone from Ken Barnett of Lateline, and he's invited to tell his story about the incident at the studio, and he pounds the phone. Shortly, the news airs the videotape from El Lobo, claiming responsibility for the explosion. It also claims that they'd bombed at least 7 places, including the most recent bombing of the Colombian consulate in Los Angeles. On the TV, we see only the terrorist in silhouette and a lower-pitched voice saying that the bombing was an act of self-defense against American war criminals. Also, if the Americans continue to act aggressively toward the Colombians, they will bring war to them. The terrorist concludes that Colombia is not their country and that they must leave immediately, symbolizing sangre o libertad, which translates to blood or freedom. After that, Brewer becomes furious when the reporter mentions the killing of his family, and Latin American Solitary Committee member Mr. Ortiz calls collateral damage. In a fit of rage, Brewer storms into the newsroom and starts wildly hitting everything with his baseball bat. A few minutes later, the FBI officers arrive and incapacitate him with an electric gun. Later, Mr. Ortiz drops the charges against Brewer, preventing the FBI from arresting him. Agent Phipps ensures him that the Wolf is back in Colombia. CIA Special Agent Peter Brandt, the Colombia station chief, is harshly reprimanded for the incident by the Senate Oversight Committee, which promptly terminates all CIA operations in Colombia. Brandt angrily returns to Mompos and meets with his paramilitary allies to plan a major offensive to take down Claudio and his guerrilla forces. At Brewer's home, he advises him on how to get inside Colombia. Brewer goes to Mompos, Colombia, in order to track down Claudio. First he gets to the bus, and the next morning, the bus suddenly stops because the guerrillas are stopping every vehicle on the road and checking everything on them. To avoid the guerrillas, all bus passengers must exit and hide beside the running bus. The guerrillas see the passengers running towards the forest and begin firing at them, killing some of them. 3 girls are confronted by one of the guerrillas, but Brewer subdues him, and they escape. The guerrillas follow Brewer until he outruns them by jumping into a river. The guerrillas find Brewer's bag, which he left behind before he jumped into the river, containing his passport. Men present a copy of Brewer's passport to Brandt and alert them of Brewer's presence. At the same time, at the guerrilla camp, Roman presents a copy of Brewer's passport to Claudio, and they want to capture him and hold him for ransom. Brewer goes to Mompos Harbor, then to a carnival. Brewer sees a motorcycle about to hit a boy named Moro, but his mother, named Selena, pulls him out of the way. After that, Brewer is arrested for entering the country illegally. At the prison, he meets Canadian mechanic Sean Armstrong and asks him for his pass so he can escape the guerrilla zone, but he refuses. Later at night, the guerrilla troops alert the prison with a loud horn before firing a mortar on it. Then, Claudio and his fellow guerrilla manage to kill the police officers and free the prisoners. Brewer sees Claudio for the second time. Brewer incapacitates one of the prisoners and obtains the circular saw they used to free them. Brewer frees the other prisoners, but he won't free Sean unless he gives him the pass. Sean gives Brewer the pass, and he releases him. After that, Sean tells him he retired as a mechanic, and he tells him to get the harbor. Once he gets to San Pablo, he will ask for Felix Ramirez, a drug runner. He also informs Brewer that he is his replacement. Brewer goes upriver and through the mangrove forest. There he sees the dead man and the indigenous people. Later, the guerrillas start the boat, and he asks them for Felix. Once he gets there, Brewer pretends to be the mechanic and falsely introduces himself to Felix and one of the guerrillas as Heinrich Beckman. Brewer and Felix go to a facility, where he is hired to fix a generator. Brewer rigs several improvised explosives. Claudio and his troops confront one of the guerrillas about Beckman. He did not realize that Beckman is actually Brewer, and he made a mistake. The guerrillas force the man to open his mouth with a metal brace, then choke him with a coral snake, killing him. Claudio tells them to find Brewer. Meanwhile, Brewer still continues making improvised explosives. At night, the guerrillas arrive to find Brewer and ask Felix where Brewer is. Brewer sees them and throws a Molotov cocktail right in front of them, destroying the facility in the process. Roman then shoots Felix, who dies in front of Brewer, who is hiding under a truck. The truck heads to Claudio's headquarters. Brewer then infiltrates Claudio's headquarters and plants a grenade in the gas tank, but is captured when he tries to prevent a woman named Selena from being caught in the blast radius along with her son Moro. At Claudio's home compound, Selena reveals that she is Claudio's wife and that she and Claudio once lost their own child during an attack by American forces, which compelled Claudio to become a terrorist and fight back, while Selena found and adopted Moro, whose parents were killed in the attack. Meanwhile, Brandt's unit locates Claudio's compound and launches an attack. During the ensuing shootout, Roman and his fellow guerrillas are killed while Selena helps free Brewer. Brewer sees a landmine in the forest and clears it before they step through. Brewer fights with a man from Brandt's unit until he gets blown up by the landmine. After that, Brewer meets Brandt for the first time in Colombia, and he explains that the wolf has gone to Washington, D.C., to blow another building, and Selena and her son will come to identify the target. Claudio arrives in Washington, D.C., at the same time as Brewer, Selena, and her son. They hear the lower-pitched voiceover of the terrorist, saying a bomb has been planted in Washington, D.C., but it is too late for them to find it. Claudio leaves a briefcase containing a bomb at Union Station, but an old man picks it up and tries to open it. At the Dulles State Department Annex, Selena identifies Union Station as the target. On the pretense of using the restroom, Selena informs the State Department employee to come along, and when Moro refuses to come with her, she becomes irritated. Brewer recognizes Selena making the same gesture and the words Sangre o Libertad as the masked man, claiming to be El Lobo made in the tape, and realizes that she was the wolf all along, with Claudio serving as her figurehead. Brewer goes to find Selena. When the officers raid the old man's briefcase, it turns out to be empty. Selena then killed one of the State Department employees inside the restroom by snapping her neck. When Brewer sees Selena dialing on her cell phone, he realizes that she was there at the time of the explosion in LA, and she was using a cell phone to activate the bomb. He pursues her, but falls short when she enters an elevator and kills a man inside. Furthermore, Brewer suspects that the State Department is the real target. Brewer quickly throws Moro's toy dinosaur, which is carrying a bomb, out a window moments before it explodes. Meanwhile, in the basement, a second bomb is set inside a truck. Brandt, realizing Brewer's suspicions, is shot in the head while trying to stop Selena from fleeing the building. Brewer opens the elevator door and jumps down the shaft where Selena is, but she managed to get out before Brewer gets in. Selena then subdues Brewer, and she gets out of the shaft. Brewer chases Selena to the building's basement, where she and Claudio ride off through the underground tunnels on a motorcycle. Brewer finds the tunnel control console and shuts the gates, preventing their escape. Brewer cuts open some gas lines along the tunnel's walls, and as they ride back, Selena shoots at Brewer, igniting the gas. Brewer jumps through a doorway, just as the entire tunnel explodes. Selena and Claudio survive the blast, however, Brewer simultaneously. After a short hand-to-hand fight, Selena is electrocuted by being tossed on the exposed circuitry of the control panel. Claudio incapacitates Brewer, then, just before he detonates the second bomb, Brewer throws an axe into Claudio's chest, finally killing him. In the aftermath, Brewer carries Moro in his arms as they leave the State Department. A newscast voiceover explains that Brewer will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom for preventing one of the worst terrorist attacks in U.S. history from taking place. Thank you for watching. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.